All right. Hey, everybody. This is Burke, and I'm here with Shayne Boyer. And today we are going to learn tips and tricks for the Azure CLI. So I'm going to be at Ignite next week, and I'm actually going to be talking about app service. And a lot of what we're going to be doing in app service is on the CLI. And I do not know a whole lot about the terminal or the Azure CLI just in general, but Shayne does. So I asked him if he would sit down with me and show me a thing or two. Thank you, Shayne.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad to help out. I've done the CLI for quite a long time, and I have learned to do some fun little tricks when it comes to working inside of demos like you're going to be doing. And it's nice to have a couple little tricks up my sleeve when I'm doing demos and things like that. So I'm hoping that this will help out.
That's not working right. All right. Okay, so let's do, let me go to my directory for Ignite. All right, we'll just start from here. Okay, so so first of all, clear.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a better way to do that?
Command K.
Command K does the same thing?
Yep.
Let's see. Look at that. Also, another one I use a lot is you have a lot of stuff and you're like, I just want to get rid of it all. Control U.
Oh, that's cool. I like that one.
Yeah. Any others?
No, those are the Command K is the one I use the most because I don't like to type clear.
Is there a way, like if you have a super long command, like, I don't know, it's like several lines long. You're like, you type this long thing, and then you want to get back to, like, you know, maybe the second, the 10th character from the start. Is there an easier way to get over there than doing this right here?
You know who used to give me crap for that was a Baird on our team. He's like, oh, why are you keep using the arrow buttons? But he never told me how.
I didn't tell you how to.
It's like, oh, we keep using arrow. Maybe it's like,
so you can do Option.
Yeah, Option. Okay.
But the Windows key does not take you back to the start. So Options key. What about Option Shift? No, Option Command.
And it looks like it's going back to each one of the delimiters.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's doing.
So if you have like a space, I bet if you have spaces in between, it would do the same thing.
Let's find out here. I bet it can handle both. Yep.
Yeah.
So this would be the quicker way to go back instead of.
Yeah.
So that's good to know. All right. All right. So what we.
Sorry, we're getting off topic.
The way that I start out with this, and I do AZ, and then we'll talk about creating a resource group. So, you know, we do group, and then create, and then to give it a name. So we'll just walk through that. I'm just going to say Shayne resource group.
Okay.
I'll find it later. So that's the first thing we do. And you'll notice that I've got my default output set to table.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing that we look at is this configure. And the file, there's the file. Where is the file? Do you know where the file is?
I didn't even know there was a file associated with that. It's probably.
I don't want to change my settings. So code. There it is right there. So it's
under config. Yeah.
Azure config.
I did know that. Sorry.
That's all right. And then you can open this. I don't think you can see VS Code.
No, because you're doing a single.
Yeah, but you can open this in VS Code.
You can do a cat. Just do a cat on it.
A cat?
Yep. Cat on the file.
What do I do? Just like this?
CAT and then that file.
Yeah. So, and then you can add in. So what I've done here is added in this output table here.
Yeah.
Because I can't read the JSON output.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talk about, you know, groups, default groups and locations, because otherwise you have to end up typing that stuff over and over and over again. One of the things I don't understand about the Azure CLI is that you have to type the resource group every single time you work with a web app. So for instance, if you turn on logging and then you want to go to view the logs, having the name of the web app is not enough. You also need to pass in the resource group, which I don't understand, because the name of the app has to be unique across all of Azure. So why, I don't understand why the resource group command is there or required.
There's a long answer to it that I don't remember. I
Gotcha.
remember hearing it one time. It's like there's like a relational database style answer to it. So like I can find the way it works as I understand it, and I could be wrong, and this is my opinion, not the official answer, is like I can find web apps by a resource group, but I can't find resource groups by a web apps, at least when it comes to the CLI. And it has to do with a performance thing because there's a lot of like super like multiple lookups that you have to do it. So there's no like foreign keys.
So it's more of a back end issue that's leaking through into
Yeah.
the CLI.
And it's really for performance from a CLI perspective on how it works. And that might be a poor excuse from my explanation, not the actual implementation of it. But that's the reason. I think that there should be some smart ways, and it is getting better because you'll see that, you're familiar with the web app up functionality where we can just say whatever my node app is, I can do, just pass a name of the app and say, AZ web app up, and it will create all of the things for us. And they're implementing some of those capabilities where I can create my resource group and I can just pass a name and it'll do all the fun things for me. It does all those lookups. It takes a little more time to do that, but it's like the more information you pass it, the more efficient it is at creating and finding those things. And we're trying to be as explicit as possible when it comes to finding and creating resources when it comes to a CLI. And I think it's more around automation of using the CLI than it is for you and I to kind of poke around and do these little demos, these Hello World app type of demos.
Sure. So one of the things that I glossed over here was at the very start, really, the first thing we should do is set a subscription, which it's not subscription, it's account. And then we can list them, but we can set the default one as well. So here I'm setting, to my default subscription GUID. Yep. Are there anything other things with subscriptions that you frequently do?
No, list and setting the default subscriptions. I have access, and as you do, have a lot of shared things as we get involved with product groups and other demos that we have access to a ton of subscriptions. So yeah, setting it is really the best and seeing if it's, enabled. Sometimes we shut down old subscriptions. So I think, yeah. So enables and is setting the default is probably the most important one. It's like, why can't I find my web app? I'm doing web app lists and I can't find my web app. It's because you're in the wrong subscription.
Hey, let me ask you a question. Is this information private?
Yes and no.
I mean,
you still have to be able to log in. You still have to have a subscription ID. You still have to have your credentials in order to get into it.
Right. That's what so to me, this doesn't. It's kind of not. Of course, I guess though, any piece of information that you can obscure from people is probably a good idea.
Yes.
Great. I'll have to cut that out of this video.
Yeah. Or just blur it.
All right. So we talked about that, about setting a subscription and then setting the default. So if we did, it's not, I always do this. This is an ergonomics thing. Maybe we need an alias for account that's subscription, but.
Yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned the aliases. Azure CLI aliases. You can there is an alias extension that you can set up aliases right now. So if you do there's an Azure extension that's called Alias.
Okay, let me look it up here. Azure CLI alias.
Yep. And it's just AZ extension add, and the name of it is called Alias.
Okay, so it's just AZ extension add name alias. It's adding. Oh man, I'm a mess. Okay, so AZ alias.
Yeah, and then you can create like AZ alias create, and then do like -- name RG. And then the command that you're going to replace or alias, not replace, but alias, it'd be like the word group.
Like this?
No, so do command, -- command.
Oh, -- command.
Yeah. And the word is group, is group.
Oh, that's right.
So now instead of using group everywhere, it would be RG. So now hit enter, and before you'd say AZ, yes, do AZ RG list.
This is all of my resource groups.
Yes. Now here's the cooler thing: do AZ alias create and put in LS for the command list. Do name dash n, because you can do it shorter. Yeah, the command is list. No, is list.
Just list?
Just list. Because the command is list. So before you do AZ group list.
Oh. So the alias is like chain off of each other. I got it.
So now you can just do AZRGLS.
Haha, look at that. Haha, that's because I set my default resource group in the background there. So I'm going to switch over to back to my other subscription. So let's do AZ account LS. We want to switch back to this one here. I want to make that the default. AZ account set S, boom. Perfect. Now we can do, yeah, these are all the apps I have running inside that resource group. Now, that's pretty cool, man.
Now think of it as so I'm a Linux or like a Mac OS guy, and for listing something, I'm gonna get a directory list. I don't use the word list, that doesn't come off my fingertips naturally.
Yeah.
So I like LS. So I would do AZ web app LS. That makes more sense to me. Like I'm gonna get a list of my web app, so I can alias LS. It makes more sense.
That's cool. All right, excellent. So let's move on here. So we're gonna do, now that we have this subscription set, we want to create a new group. So we'll just say RG because that's resource group, but otherwise it would be group. Mm-hmm. And then create. And then we did Shayne resource group. I think, did we already create this? Let's see here.
I should tell you did that already. They did it, yeah.
It's created now. So now we have a resource group. The next thing that we need is an app service plan. So is it plan? No. I think it's AZ app service plan. There we go. And of course, I'm using this LS alias instead of list. We've got two of them here. Let's create another one just for fun. Because this is what I'll do in the session. We'll do app service plan create. Yeah. Give it a name. We'll call it Shayne service plan. SKU, the B1 SKU. And then usually you have to pass a location, but of course this is defined in my settings file as East US. So correct. I'm passing this over and over again. I'm forgetting something here. Is there another way besides hitting enter to find out what you're missing?
Yeah, so here's an interesting thing. Stop right there. Here's an interesting thing you just did. You did not define your resource group. And this is the gotcha with defaults. One of the things that you have to remember is when you set up defaults, if you don't define them, if you don't define that piece of information when you're creating new things, it'll obviously go to that default.
Right.
Now you're getting hit with an error. Like you're creating an app service plan in a resource group that's hosting Linux apps, but we don't support this particular SKU in that resource group. You're like, wait a second, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'll tell you, when I first started using defaults, I screwed myself. I was like, I have no idea why this is failing. I submitted a ticket. I did all these things. And
because of the defaults.
Yeah, and I was like, I never thought to go back and check the default. I was like, oh, you dodo. You have a default of whatever it was. I was in a region that didn't support the type of thing that I was creating.
I wonder if we could make a PR for these error messages to say the requested app service plan cannot be created in resource group.
I do have an open issue right now that says, hey, I want to have more information that when I get dinged, like I get the smack on my hand, it should tell me check your defaults or your defaults are this, because we should have that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Now you have to say, is Linux true?
Is Linux true like this?
Wait, sorry, it should be is Linux.
It's just is Linux, right?
Yeah.
We're about to find out.
So now it should work.
Shouldn't it? I didn't specify a runtime. Oh, that's on the web app itself.
Mm-hmm. So now you're
Yes,
good.
it did. Okay,
But,
so now let's do
it put it in. I don't know where you want to create this, but it just created an app service plan
in a different resource group.
in the resource group that you have as a default, not as the one you created.
So let's try that again.
But now you're gonna have two resources plans. It's not gonna work because the
you can't say group.
It's resource group or -G.
That's right. So this is one of the other thing that was confusing for me is that when you hit it from the root of the CLI, it's group, but when you hit it as a flag, it turns into resource group.
I think no. The command is group.
Right.
The flag option is resource-group.
Right. Exactly.
So it's single -G.
Right, but that was what kept confusing me is that I just as a developer experience, I keep typing that wrong because I get confused between the command and the switch or the flag. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're on the resource group.
So now this should not work. This should fail.
Why?
Because your names have to be unique across Azure.
And not on app service plans. Only on the app itself.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. That would mess me up.
I can't remember what's what either.
I wouldn't want the same app service plan name in two different groups.
So let me change my resource group. Let's do that. What would you Vim it?
I wouldn't Vim anything.
I used code before.
Yeah, you can code. That's fine. Or you can do Pico.
See it. What would you do from the terminal? What would you use?
I would probably use Pico or Nano.
Pico, Nano. Let's change this. Okay. Now how do you exit?
It's Control X.
Does it save automatically?
It'll ask you.
Boom. Okay. So now we won't make that mistake again because we got the resource group changed in the defaults.
There is
I'm going to clear this off.
Let me see here. Azure CLI move resources. So I know in the portal you can move an object from one resource group to another. Move to a new resource group. I don't know of the command to do that.
Easy resource move? Is that what it is?
Look at you.
Destination subscription ID. Destination group. So what's an ID? So hold on.
That's a good guess.
Resource list. Where do I find the ID of these things?
You have to do a show or do an out. Sorry, do an out of a JSON.
Like
ls dash o.
O or output?
Just dash o. Single dash.
Why are some single and some are multiple?
Well, they're only multiple if you use the full word.
Why?
Because that's a shortcut in CLIs. It's always dash shortcut or dash full.
Always?
Always.
Okay.
And I only ever do the shortcuts because, as our good friend Hanselman says, you only have so many keystrokes in your fingers.
Whoa.
Yeah. So moving things and knowing the IDs is really tough,
Okay, but you can.
but it can be done.
Good to know for scripting.
Yeah. And here's the thing is that the idea is that anything you can do in the portal, you can do in the CLI. It's just how hard is it to do? So moving things in a resource from one resource group to another in the portal is really like a couple clicks. If you're like, oh, well, I don't want to go to the portal ever. And there are some people that just don't like to use the portal.
I like the portal.
There are things that I like it for and things that I don't like it for. And if it's just like I said, changing my active subscription, I could not tell you where to do that in the portal. Setting the current subscription. But here I can do it like super easy. Like
I know where it is, but only because I just did it yesterday with Tanya going through something. Otherwise, I would have no clue. Yeah. And it's not where you think. It's kind of hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, I have custom domains also where I've set up like Active Directory things. Like I know how to do that in the portal, super easy. I would not know how to switch that in the CLI. So, and a lot of it is just I haven't done it yet, so I wouldn't know where to go look. I would have to struggle on it.
All right, so let's move on to creating the web app here. So we have the resource group, we have the app service plan. The next thing to do is create the application. We have all the prerequisites. Web app create, we'll call it Shayne app. And we don't need to specify a resource group because we have that in our defaults, but we do need to specify the app service plan.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I just -P.
It is -P.
You know what? I'm gonna use my newfound keyboard shortcuts. Here we go. So let's develop some good habits, Burke.
And look how fast you got to the end there.
I know, it's pretty nifty. All right, so -P is gonna be Shayne service plan, I think is what we call this thing.
Yep.
Do you name your stuff like this? I always name my things very explicitly, like.
Well, I tell you what. I started using Azure before there was resource groups, and now that was a long time ago. But resource groups are my new friend. So I say this is like Shayne's stuff. Like I name the resource group as my app name. So it'd be like Burke and Shayne do Azure CLI.
Oh, gotcha.
Then everything under that is exactly like you're doing it. Here's the web app. Here's the service plan. Here's the CDN. And it's all explicitly typed out like you've got. So when I go to look at that in the portal and say, let me see what's on my resource group, I can see all the objects underneath it. By just looking at it, it's human readable. And I know exactly what they are without having to go into each individual item.
Yeah,
So that's a long answer to yes.
Yeah, that's a good what's the word? Methodology there. All right, so we got a service plan, we got a name.
That's all you need based on everything you've set up.
No, I need to give it a runtime. But here's the thing, man. One of the things in the CLI that's difficult for me is that I forget the options. And there are a lot of options for any given command. And if you don't put the commands in, it's just going to error out. But then sometimes it'll tell you what commands you're missing. But then the workflow for me becomes type a line, error, add something, error, add something, error, add something, error, finally get it right.
Cool. I've got something that'll fix that for you.
Okay, what you got?
Delete all that.
All right, hold on. I'm going to copy it because I'm nervous.
Yeah, don't copy it. It's fine.
Don't copy it?
No, don't copy it.
Okay.
And just, delete all that. Now, type AZ interactive. So, now start to type what you just typed.
What? So AZ.
Not AZ. AZ's already there. Back up.
Oh, it's already there. So just web app.
Yeah. It's space. And it's not working for me.
It says loading at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. So hit enter to refresh, it says.
Hit enter to refresh?
Yeah. Okay. So now we're good. Now type web app.
Oh.
Hit space. Now hit down arrow. Wait, go back.
Sorry. What do I do?
All right. Hit space. Now hit down. Now, if you just slow down and hover on one of them, it should. Sometimes it's a little slow because there's a lot of data loading here. If you go up to Web App Create and hit I think it's Tab. Oh no, so it's Enter, Create, Enter. All right, so that does what you normally would see, right?
That's
so now yeah, so this is normally where the scenario that you're saying, like you get into and you're like, oh crap, I forgot name. So hit space, and now stop. So now when you hit space, now this is like inline documentation.
Oh, look at that right there.
Right in front of you. Right, so this is everything that you would have to do for Web App Create. Here's all of your options. So we already know that we have to pass it a name. It says required. So we can do -n space and then put in the name of the app and then hit space. And now you can hit
P.
Oh, back up. It was loading it. Space. I say now. Here's the cool thing. Hit -P. Hit dash. Yeah. P. Hit space. Look what it shows you.
Oh, it automatically pulls in my service plan.
Yes, it already knows the service plan that you have.
Oh crap! Must be tab. Yeah, it's tab. It's not enter. Enter executes the command. That makes sense.
So now you hit dash again. Now here's the other things that you've got as options. Look at that. Linux only. That's if you're doing containers, output format, branch deploy. So these are all the options that you have too. So this is a really good teaching tool for either for yourself or to teach somebody else on how to learn all of the options that are available when it comes to each individual command. What I like about it is there might be something new that I'm learning, like VMs. Like I've never done VMs before, and there might be something that about the VMs. There's literally like hundreds of options when you're creating a VM, and it'll show you all of these options with the documentations that you can see here. It'll tell you like here's examples, here's the documentation for each one of the options, and if you actually if you hit -G.
D?
If you hit back up and hit G and hit space, those are all of your resource groups.
Wow, look at that, man. That is so cool. That's so cool. All right, so let's do -R because I actually know that this command's gonna fail.
Okay.
Do you believe me?
If you hit enter right now,
or it's gonna hook me up with a node version, some default node version.
Yeah, so if you do a space and do -R because you know what.
Yeah. So
there you go.
So this is what's interesting is that for Linux, you have to specify a runtime. I don't think you do on Windows. It's
no, you don't.
Specific.
Yeah.
So you need R, and then I was hoping it would give me a list of.
But it tells you like how to define it. I think, can you hit tab? No, it doesn't give you that. Okay.
I was hoping it would give me a list.
No, it doesn't for some of them.
So I just happen to know that this is node 8.11.
Yep. But it tells you at least in the documentation below how to format that.
For my session, I'm going to have to figure out what to do to talk between like these delays while Azure is busy. All right, so I'm ready to get out of this.
Hit Control D.
And we're back at it.
Yeah.
So now let's do AZ Web App LS. We should see our web app. There it is. It's running.
Okay.
Okay, now I want to deploy this thing.
It's already deployed, isn't it? Oh, you have to deploy to it.
Yeah. So I have a zip file here. Let's remove the zip file. Let's just pull this out for a second. Okay. So I can do zip myapp.zip. No, oh, sorry. We'll zip the whole directory. So what's interesting about this is that it includes freaking everything. And this works. And then we can do AZ web app deploy. No.
Up.
Up. No, it's not up. It's. What the heck is it?
Hit tab. Isn't it up?
No, up. Up is the shortcut.
Hit space and hit tab. Do you have tab config set up? No, you don't have tabs set up.
I think it's deployment source.
Hit -H. So did you know that? After every single step, you can hit -H and it'll give you the help for that specific part of your command.
And big zip. There we go. And then we're giving it the name, Shayne app, and source. So let's do this. Oh, SRC.
Well, that's dumb. They screwed that up.
Well, there's slot. Maybe S is
Oh,
already.
so yeah, I guess sometimes it's -- source.
Gosh, dang it.
So that would be a complaint that would be an issue that I would put in there, that when there's multiple. So I guess when there's multiple ones that start with the same single character, that's when they do that -- There's no shortcut option.
So this one should send up this my app, but this my app folder is quite large, as you can imagine. Do you know how to view how large a file is from the terminal, Shayne?
No, I don't. Oh, you can do LL or just L.
Yeah, so you can do, it's 2.1 megabytes, which is huge.
Mm.
So what we can do is we can remove this and we can do it, we can zip it again, but this time we can pass in this flag of things that we want it to ignore.
Yeah, you're not sharing, by the way. I don't see anything on your screen.
You don't see my screen?
I see the web app deployment going. I don't see whatever you're doing now.
That's crazy. All right, interesting. So Zoom doesn't share. All I did was switch tabs.
Yeah.
So I'll share my screen. I'll do what I just did again. That's interesting. It's an interesting Zoom feature. Okay. All right. So before I just did, so we did LL and we looked at the size of myapp.zip.
Yep.
So right now it's 46 kilobytes, but let's remove it. And then, so what we did before was we zipped it like this. And then it zips the whole thing. But then if you use LL and look at it, it's 2.1 megabytes, which is huge. Yeah. So we can remove it and then we can zip it again. And this time if we pass this flag here, we can actually add in the .git stuff too. And then it will put in just the stuff that we need here. And we can even pull out stuff like deployment and VS Code as well, because we don't need those. But then the file size drops dramatically. Right now it's 12 kilobytes.
Wow. Yeah.
So then we can deploy this. Is this deployment still going over here? No, this one's done. So this one, so we can run the deployment again, because this time our file is, and can you see? I switched tabs. Can you still see?
Yep.
Huh, that's weird. I wonder what happened with Zoom before.
So do you know, so now it's up there. Are you going to deploy it again?
Yeah, I mean, I can test it, make sure it works. But so I'm just going to deploy it again. And this one's actually going to be a fair bit faster, but in the upload. But then now Azure has to assume this cognitive overhead of running your build step, which is npm install. Which
that can take some time.
Yeah. which I guess it was probably doing the same thing before. So like I was uploading my node modules and it was running npm install for node modules that were already there. But this time it's just going to look at the package.json and run npm install, even though it's a zip file. So it unzips, runs npm install, and then yeah, it should be available. Maybe I'll run this on the S1 tier instead of the B1 tier just for speed.
Yeah. So now that it's up there, you should be able to do AZ web app browse.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Space browse, and then pass the name -n. Shayne, yeah. Invalid
browser.
It should launch your default browser.
Yeah, it sure did. And I will pull that in.
Yeah, so there you go.
It looks like.
So that's so much easier than going to like, let me copy and paste and command click and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that is nice.
So AZ web app browse. You do have to pass a resource group, but since you have that set up as your default, that's nice to have in there.
All right, that's lovely. So then the next thing that we do is I go through and I do, and we don't have to go through all this, but I'll just talk you through.
Yeah.
We change the deployment to source config local git, and then pass in the name, and then it's going to send back. Now, is there any way that I can retrieve the password for this thing on the command line?
Yeah, so do an AZ web app show.
So for everybody watching here, what we got back here is this URL that's to a Git repository that's actually in Azure. But it has a username, but it doesn't have a password. And I frequently forget what that is because it's not your Azure username and password. It's specific. The deployment users are specific. Now, it's fairly easy to change this from the command line. The question I'm asking Shayne here is there any way I can just have the command line tell me what my deployment user password is?
So do AZ web app show and then pass the name and then do this for me. Do a --out JSON and then
just do -o
JSON and then do pipe. And this will blow your mind. Type in code. It didn't work. It should open it in code. All right, take out the pipe.
Yeah, that's my config file.
It should open the actual output. It should pipe it out to code.
Oh, broken pipe.
Okay.
What the heck is that?
That might be a bug. Take out the do you have JP term installed?
No.
All right, so just take off the pipe then. Controls, yeah. All right, so let's see if it's in there.
Oh yeah, you got a lot more.
Yeah, that's everything. I don't know if you can get the passwords. So there's your host type, repo, disabled, host names. Resource groups.
No, I don't think you do.
No, probably not.
So what we can do here is we can do.
Hang on, I can find it.
You can set it, right? So we know that the username is, I think it's my first app user, and then the password, we'll use something super secure. You know, I had, speaking of super secure, I had my internet connection upgraded the other day, and they had to bring a new router and modem. And he brings the new router and the modem, he sets them up, and then he's leaving, and I said, I'm going to change, or he was standing over my shoulder, we were configuring, and I was like, all right, I'm going to change the router password real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, don't do that. And I was like, nah, man, I'm going to change it because, you know, I don't want everybody. And I could tell he didn't want me to change it. He's like, all right, man, but don't forget what it is. I was like, I won't forget. You know, it's the same password I've had for a long time. But in that moment, I realized, is that what they're telling people? I know what the default password is for all those routers. It's a big company. Everybody in this neighborhood's got one. If I go to my neighbor's house and get on their Wi-Fi, what are the chances I can log into their router? I'm going to say pretty high.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right, don't log into your neighbor's router. That's not very nice.
Do this.
Right, so we've got this, my first app user. Now, I wonder, I don't have that GitHub URL anymore. Can I get back to it somehow?
That's not it. Do this. Do an AZ web app deployment show. Sorry, AZ web app deployment user show. That only gives you the username.
Yeah. If we can do,
Oh wait, do an out JSON on it. Deployment user show out JSON.
Nope.
Doesn't have the password.
Did we already try this? Can't do that. No. Source. Oh, what's a name? That would be right. It's going to be app specific. But no.
It's hang on a second. I'm looking at the docs.
Wait a minute. Is that it right there? There's the repo URL.
No, but I don't think that's it.
Let me look in the portal, because I know it says it in the portal. People won't be able to see that, but that's okay.
Deployment source config. I want to see it. I don't want to configure it.
My Shayne app. Here it is. The repo URL is it is not that. That is not the repo URL. No. It is, but there's more to it. It looks like this, actually.
Yeah, so that's the username at the SCM 443.
So it's the username, and then this, and then 443, and then this, and then Git. I wish we could spit that back out somehow.
Yeah, that's interesting. That AZ. Hang on a second. Source AZ web app deployment examples. Get an endpoint. Get remote add. No, I just want to see it. There's show. So show should do it. AZ web app deployment source show. And then pass the name.
That's what we just did. It ain't there.
That is amazing that it doesn't show it.
All right, well, let's do this.
Okay.
I'm just going to do, let's get rid of the Git.
So here's what you should do, Burke, is when you do that command, set it to a variable. Do you know how to do that?
So that would be
do like a myvar equals $,
like
and
that?
then open paren, and then the command goes inside that.
What command?
So when you create it, when you execute that command, to get your, hang on, I can't even, I'm looking for here.
Oh, to get the,
When you can,
to set up
when
the
you go ahead
deployments in
and,
local Git?
yeah, when you configure it, hang on, let me give you this. How do I copy this? Let me see if this does this. Where's the chat? So I need to make this bigger so I can give it to you. More. No. Oh, there we go. So whatever your command is, az blah. Look at that.
Oh.
You're just going to have to remember your password or set it.
Yeah, I think the setting is the way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I don't know that you'd want to send people's passwords back. I mean, ideally, nobody should know what the password is, not even Azure.
Yeah, and here's the thing is, as I remember it, when you set the passwords, it sets it globally for everything in Azure for you. Not your subscription, but like your publishing passwords. I don't think it's specific to that one repo or that one project. That's something I have to check into.
Yeah, you can see it's running npm install.
Yeah, that was pretty fast though.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad at all. And then we can do AZ web app show, and that will work. The other one I do is, can I source delete?
Yep.
Except for that doesn't seem to work. Why am I typing it all over again, Bert?
Just good practice. It's like coloring within the line.
Look, it doesn't do it. Am I doing it wrong? It stays the same.
Do a delete and see a help on it maybe.
Name
is the only thing that should delete a source control deployment configuration. Check the portal real quick and see if it did.
Okay. No.
Interesting. It might be a bug.
Okay.
Log that.
It works from VS Code. Like if I right click in VS Code and say set deployment source to none, I wonder if we've got config. And we got a task runner. I have to look into that as well. Anyway, well, I think, man, we're almost out of time here, and we've been through quite a bit. So here was the things that were extremely helpful for me, Shayne. The Alias plugin to alias some of these commands, make them shorter. Definitely the interactive. That was mind-blowing for me. I didn't even know that existed. The fact that you need to look in the JSON output for more data. So table output is cleaner, but JSON output harder to look at, but that's really where all of the config values are. And then browsing directly from AZ web app in the terminal instead of having to find the URL, copy, paste, open the browser, paste it in. That's my 4 top tips from this video here. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
yeah, and there's a lot of power in the JSON values, and if anybody has some time, look into the dash dash query. It's on the screen here. In using James Path, it's kind of like a interactive query, JSON querying capability. So when you're looking into digging out things like the IDs and stuff like that to use in variables and scripting later on, if you're doing some big, bash scripting type of stuff, it's a good way to figure out kind of where they are.
So you can parse out different keys
Yeah.
and values out of the JSON using that James Path query.
Yeah, there's other output types like TSV and JSON and JSON color and other stuff like that. So look at the output types too. Those are the other two.
I want to do this real quick.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested. What's JSON color look like?
JSON C. It's just pretty.
Sorry. Boom. It's so much prettier. Look at that. It's not all green, so you can see.
It's easier to read.
It's color coding keys and values.
Yeah. It's easier to read.
I'm going to use that as well. All right, man. Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
I hope that I can do as much good for the people at Ignite as you have done for me this morning. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, buddy.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, later, man.
Bye.